You guys, welcome back. We're here at Radiography with Mr. M, Mr. Medellin, and we're in the radiation protection portion of the topics now. And what we're covering today is what's called the Law of Bergonie Tribondeau. And I got a quick little story for you guys. When I was first learning to teach, I said we're going to be covering the Law of Bergonie Tribondeau. And somebody who was auditing the class said, "Excuse me, Mr. Medellin, it's pronounced Bergonie Tribondeau." And I said, "Oh, then pardonnez-moi," right? And the class laughed. And later on, that person who was auditing the class said, "I didn't appreciate that you corrected me like that, or you made fun of me. I was trying to help you and correct you." And I said, "My intent was not to be malicious at all. I just said it, and the class thought it was funny, and we moved on." But to this day, you know, I kind of think about Bergonie and Tribondeau, right? So the Law of Bergonie and Tribondeau is what I'm going to say right now. Law of B&T. Now, these guys are amazing, and for all kinds of different reasons. But in 1905, 1906, they figured out that there was a hierarchy to cell sensitivity, which is amazing. Think about it. They didn't have the technology that we have today. But over 100 years ago, 1905, 1906, around that time period, they found out that there are different cells that respond differently to radiation. That's amazing, you guys, even for the technology that we have today. So just that blows my mind. So what they figured out is that there's a hierarchy of cell sensitivity when it comes to radiation. So I'm gonna write this down. So there's a hierarchy of cell sensitivity to radiation. So what they figured out was a few different items that we're gonna talk about today, is that cells that are immature, non-specialized, simple cells, also known as stem cells, are considered to be more radiosensitive. So I'm going to write down those terms. Ready? So we can say immature, non-specialized, simple cells, or also known as stem cells, are more radiosensitive. So more radiosensitive. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write out another term, another way they can word it. You can say they're less radioresistant. You guys see it? Less radioresistant, or they're more radiosensitive. So it just depends on what angle they come at us with the question. So the other thing that they figured out was cells that have a higher metabolic rate are going to, again, be more sensitive to radiation. So cells that have a higher metabolic rate are going to be more radiosensitive. So what does that mean? They can eat in and out 2 o'clock in the morning and they're not going to get fat? No, that's not what it means. Metabolic is the processing that's occurring with the cell. Now, we all know that cells process, correct? They have metabolic reprocessing through the mitochondria, correct? So we're not going to go all through the ATP and glucose and all that stuff, the powerhouse of the cell, right? But they're processing, and if the cell's processing more, it probably means that they're dividing more. So guess what? If the cells have a higher rate of proliferation, remember that word proliferate? So the cells that have a higher rate of proliferation. So proliferation means to divide rapidly, or you can say a higher rate of mitotic activity. So either wording that they want to use doesn't matter. Cells are dividing. So when you have cells that have a higher rate of mitosis, mitotic activity, or they're rapidly dividing, does anybody remember the most radiosensitive stage of cell division? Remember, there's a couple different stages of cell division. There was 5. That's right. It's going to be metaphase. Okay, so metaphase. So in metaphase, guess what? That's where all your chromosomes, all your material that's inside the cell are going to be lined up in the middle, called the metaphase plate, correct? And if radiation is going to come and hit it, it's going to cause more damage, but that's also when it's going to be most observed in metaphase stage. So When you have a cell that's processing more, that's developing more, that's processing and dividing more, then guess what? They're going to be in more stages of metaphase. And that leaves them prone or more susceptible to damage. And of course, that's where it's going to be observed, right? So, again, this is amazing that they figured this out over 100 years ago. So, the Law of Bergonie Tribondeau, hierarchy of cell sensitivity or ranking, right? And what they figured out is that immature, non-specialized simple stem cells are going to be more radiosensitive, least radioresistant. Cells that are going to be higher metabolic, right? They're going to have a higher metabolic rate, more processing, or they're going to be dividing more, are going to be more radiosensitive. So there's a whole ranking, there's a whole list that our textbooks have. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the most radiosensitive, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the least radiosensitive, and then I'll let you guys fill in the rest. If anybody has any questions or comments, I'll be helpful, to you. Whoever has those questions and comments, I'll help you out if you need that. So what they figured out is that lymphocytes are going to be most radiosensitive. Now, anything with the word lymph in it, right? So if it has lymph tissue, so lymphocytes make up lymph tissue, correct? And the lymph tissue make up your lymph nodes. So anything with the lymph or lymphatic system is going to be considered to be the most radiosensitive. Now you guys know that cytes is cells, right? So lymphocytes are considered to be the most radiosensitive. So most radiosensitive. Or we can say the least radioresistant. So they're not going to fight back, right? They're going to get beat up by the radiation, right? So lymphocytes are on one end of the spectrum. Then on the next side here, I'm going to put muscle and then nerve. All right, so then muscle and nerve, they don't divide the way lymphocytes do. Lymphocytes travel throughout the whole entire body. I think it's within 24 hours. So they go through all the lymph nodes. It's connected to everything, right? Your circulatory system and immune system and all that, right? So nerve cells, muscle cells don't divide, or else we all be buff from working out once, right? So nerve cells and muscle cells aren't going to divide. So guess what they're going to be? More radio resistant, okay? So they're going to be the most radio resistant. All right, or we can say the least what? The least radio sensitive. If you said sensitive, you're right. Okay, so the most radio resistant and the least radio resistant. So in the middle, we have skin, we have bone, we have all that here. So, but again, I want to give you guys the most radio sensitive and the most radio resistant. But again, for these two people to figure this out, I know I keep saying it, but over 100 years ago, you guys, again, it marvels me. And there's always room for discovery. Maybe one of you guys might discover something, right? We might have a method that's named after you guys. So I look forward to seeing that. I'm still waiting for one of my students. He said he's going to figure out a way to create x-rays without a source and a target interaction. He said there's another way to create x-rays. And I'm looking forward to his publication of that someday. All right, so I'm going to go back to this. Law of Bergonie Tribondeau, right? Hierarchy of cell sensitivity, a ranking. And we just saw the ranking, again, from the most radio sensitive to the least, right? So again, I'm hoping that this breakdown is going to help you. We have some other videos coming in the future related to LAT, RBE. Again, we'll talk about acute radiation syndrome, meiosis, mitosis, but we got a bunch more coming. So I look forward to helping you guys out with those too, okay? Thank you. Hello everyone, you guys. Thank you very much for watching the videos. I'm hoping that they're helping you out. Please make sure that you subscribe and that you hit the notification bell to be notified about new videos. Again, remember to be good to yourself and be good to others. Thank you.